In the heart of the Roman Republic, two men, Lucius Varro and Marcus Cassian, stood as bitter enemies. Lucius, a seasoned general, was famed for his loyalty to Rome. Marcus, a cunning senator, thrived on political intrigue. Their hatred had deep roots. Years ago, Marcus accused Lucius of treason, nearly costing him his life. Though Lucius was acquitted, the wound never healed. Yet fate had bound them together again, for a looming barbarian invasion threatened the Republic. The Senate demanded they work side by side, forging an uneasy alliance that masked the venom still lurking beneath their polite words and formal bows.
Lucius despised the thought of trusting Marcus, whose ambitions were known throughout Rome. Marcus, in turn, viewed Lucius as a relic of old honor, too rigid to survive in a world ruled by deceit. Their first meeting in years took place in the Forum, before a crowd eager for unity. They exchanged forced handshakes, but their eyes told the truth. Each man searched for weakness in the other. That night, Lucius studied the enemy's movements on the frontier, while Marcus drafted speeches praising their partnership. Both knew their alliance was a facade, and betrayal was not a matter of if, but when.
The campaign began with cautious cooperation. Lucius commanded the legions, while Marcus managed supplies and Senate negotiations. At first, their combined strengths worked well. The army marched efficiently, and enemy skirmishes were swiftly crushed. But as victories grew, so did Marcus's envy of Lucius's popularity among soldiers. The men cheered their general, whispering of his bravery. Marcus felt overshadowed, his political genius ignored. In secret, he began writing letters to the barbarian chieftains, offering information in exchange for a promise. When Rome's armies fell, Marcus would be spared and rewarded. He convinced himself it was survival, though it was pure treachery.
Lucius noticed strange disruptions, supply lines delayed, messages lost, scouts disappearing without trace. His instincts told him something was wrong, yet no proof emerged. The soldiers trusted him, and he reassured them, but his knights were restless. Marcus's behavior grew more polished in public, more evasive in private. He praised Lucius in speeches, but subtly questioned his judgment to the Senate. Each word Marcus spoke planted seeds of doubt among politicians. The army pressed forward, unaware that the man behind their supply wagons was feeding their enemies crucial information, timing each betrayal to weaken Rome's grip on the frontier.
The turning point came at the Battle of Vallis Silvae. Lucius had planned a decisive strike, using the forest's narrow pass to trap the enemy. But on the morning of battle, the barbarians were already in position, as if forewarned. The trap reversed, Roman soldiers were ambushed, cut down in chaos. Lucius fought fiercely, rallying the men, but the losses were devastating. When the survivors limped back to camp, Marcus feigned outrage at the defeat, blaming Lucius's reckless tactics. Whisper spread among the Senate's envoys who had accompanied them. Lucius suspected treachery, but to accuse Marcus without proof was political suicide.
In the weeks that followed, the barbarian attacks grew bolder. Marcus continued sending messages hidden inside supply crates. Lucius doubled the guards and began monitoring communications, but Marcus was careful, using trusted intermediaries. Despite their losses, the Senate ordered the campaign to continue. Rome could not appear weak. Meanwhile, Marcus plotted the final betrayal. He would lure Lucius into a false victory, ensuring his death and clearing the path for Marcus's rise. His chosen moment was near, and he savored the thought of standing before the Senate, delivering a mournful eulogy that would seal his image as Rome's savior.
The opportunity came when scouts reported a vulnerable enemy camp by the river Tiber's northern bank. Marcus urged immediate attack, citing intelligence he claimed came from deserters. Lucius, wary of Marcus's sudden enthusiasm, studied the map. The location was strategically odd, too close to the river's dangerous currents, but the prospect of ending the war tempted him. Marcus volunteered to manage the supply train personally, promising full support. That night, under torchlight, Lucius prepared his legions. He prayed to Mars for victory, unaware that Marcus had already sent word to the enemy, instructing them exactly when and where to strike.
At dawn, Lucius led his men across the shallow ford, banners snapping in the wind. The enemy camp seemed quiet, almost abandoned.
Then the trap closed. Barbarian forces poured from hidden positions, arrows darkening the sky. Simultaneously, the river's floodgates, sabotaged days earlier, released a torrent, cutting off Roman retreat. The legion fought valiantly, but their formation broke. Lucius refused to flee. He charged into the fray, rallying his men in a desperate counterattack. The battle raged for hours until exhaustion and numbers overcame them. By sunset, Lucius stood bloodied, surrounded by corpses, and the enemy leader offering him a chance to surrender.
Lucius refused. "Rome does not kneel," he said, before driving his sword into the chieftain's chest. The act cost him his life. Dozens of spears struck him down. Word of his death traveled swiftly. Marcus, who had remained to guard the supplies, wept publicly when he received the news. He wrote glowing letters to the Senate about Lucius's heroic sacrifice, positioning himself as the grieving comrade. The Senate, hungry for a figure to rally the people, embraced Marcus as a hero. Statues were commissioned in his honor, while Lucius's name, though respected among soldiers, was slowly erased from political memory.
With Lucius gone, Marcus negotiated a peace treaty with the barbarians, granting them land along the frontier, a move framed as diplomacy, but in truth, a reward for their cooperation. Rome celebrated the end of war, blind to the price paid in honor. Soldiers loyal to Lucius returned to find his family stripped of influence, their estates taxed into ruin. Marcus's power grew unchecked, and he began reshaping laws to strengthen his control. Yet at night, when he walked the empty halls of his villa, Marcus sometimes thought he saw Lucius's shadow in the flicker of torchlight, watching silently. Years passed. Marcus rose to consul, then to near-dictatorial authority. He surrounded himself with allies who owed him everything, and enemies who feared crossing him. But whispers of the battle by the Tiber lingered in the ranks. Veterans told stories of betrayal, of messages intercepted too late. One night, during a Senate gathering, an old centurion approached Marcus. "Lucius died a soldier's death," the man said, "but Rome will remember who led him to it." Marcus smiled coldly, dismissing the comment, yet his heart pounded. The past was not dead. It lay buried like embers, waiting for the right wind.
That wind came when a young tribune named Gaius Varro, Lucius's son, returned from campaigns abroad. Skilled, charismatic, and loved by the troops, Gaius carried his father's fire. He began investigating the Tiber battle, gathering testimonies from survivors. Quietly, he built alliances in the Senate, eroding Marcus's support. Rumors grew. Letters had been found, sealed with the senator's own crest. Marcus dismissed them as forgeries, but the tension was palpable. The city buzzed with talk of trials, of justice long delayed. For the first time in decades, Marcus felt the walls of Rome closing in, the shadow of betrayal turning toward him. During a public assembly, Gaius confronted Marcus, holding aloft a tattered scroll, one of the original letters sent to the barbarian chieftains. The crowd roared in outrage. Marcus attempted to speak, but Gaius's voice thundered over him, recounting the ambush, the flood, and his father's last stand. Senators who once cowered now demanded inquiry. The mob's anger swelled, forcing Marcus to flee under guard. That night his allies abandoned him, fearing the wrath of the people. Alone in his villa, Marcus stared into the darkness, hearing Lucius's words, "Rome does not kneel," echo like a curse. For the first time, he knelt. Marcus was exiled to a remote island, stripped of titles and wealth. There, he lived in obscurity, haunted by the faces of the many betrayed. Rome celebrated Gaius Varro as a hero, restoring his family's honor. Statues of Lucius were raised again, his deeds sung in the Forum. The Republic moved forward, but the story of Lucius and Marcus endured, a cautionary tale of ambition's cost and the inevitability of truth. On stormy nights, island fishermen claimed to see an old man wandering the cliffs, speaking to shadows. Whether ghost or guilt, Marcus never escaped the enemy he created.